Why, hello again, YouTubes. It's Bear with BearIndependent.com. This is episode 2 of Back to Basics. Today we're talking about food storage for your SHTF prepper, COVID-19, the end of the world as we know it, man, bullshizer. And we are supported today by a metal cup half full of Maker's Mark on the rocks and 8 pounds of chicken breasts on the grill. And I wanted to once again reiterate that everything that we're covering here has already been covered in depth in the Prepper Classroom playlist that you can find here on YouTube. You just go to our channel, go to playlists, click Prepper Classroom. It's warm out here. It's in the mid-90s right now at the time of this recording. And then you can find food storage, commo, security, logistics, mission planning, all that stuff is in the Prepper Classroom. We also have a companion notebook that you can find in our store at BearIndependent.com called the Prepper Notebook that has every one of those 40 episodes lined out on a one-sheeter in a binder with room for your notes that you can refer back to. That if you want the Prepper Notebook to be able to refer back to that content, you can get that at the store at BearIndependent.com. So let's talk about food storage. Why do we have food storage? The why is really important. Remember in episode 1 we talked a bit about the militant farmer concept and what that means. You have to be able to feed your people, you have to be able to protect your people. An army marches on its what? Its stomach, that's exactly right. And so the reason we need food storage is because we need to stay fed. Now, as you may have noticed in the world right now, food is becoming harder and harder to purchase at the store. And as a good friend of mine recently said, it's not just about availability, or it's not just about the purchasing power of your dollar, it's also about availability. For example, just a few short months ago, $1,000 could not have bought you one roll of toilet paper because it simply wasn't there to get. So the reason we stockpile things, what is preparedness? Preparedness is stockpiling material goods against potential chaos, coupled with the skill set, heart set, mindset, and the training to employ those material goods. That's preparedness in a nutshell. Episode 1 of the Prepper Classroom. So the reason we stockpile this stuff is because it may not be available. And as we've seen right now, we've got the derecho, we've got grand solar minimum, we've got typhoons and hurricanes, we've got locusts, we've got crop failure all over the place, and food is becoming harder and harder to come by. In addition to that, there's an aluminum shortage, which means that cans, like number 10 cans, and small pint cans that food go in, is also getting hard to get, which means that even if a manufacturer of food has the food, they don't have the container to put the food in to bring it to the store to get it to you so that you can buy it. So we stockpile food because while all the other cool guy things are incredibly important, firearms, ammunition, commo, body armor, blah, 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 you will very likely never have to fire a shot in anger, but you will have to eat. So food storage is vitally important. Militant farmer concept. You have to be able to protect your people. You have to be able to feed your people. So that's why we stockpile food. What food should I stockpile? I recommend 4 grains. You start with 4 grains. Corn, rice, wheat, and beans. Corn. Get feed corn from the feed store. Not deer corn, because deer corn is literally the bottom of the barrel, but feed corn. You can eat feed corn. I have. I'm not dead. Well, what about the mold? Not an issue for me. Keep it dry. Put it in buckets with mylar and oxygen absorbers. No problem. Corn. Feed corn from the feed store. Usually about $7 for a 40-pound bag right now, subject to change at any time. Rice. This is obvious. Long grain white rice. Not brown rice, because brown rice will go rancid because it has a much higher fat content than white rice. Put it in mylar buckets with oxygen absorbers inside and seal them up. Good to go. Corn, rice, wheat. Where do I get wheat from? Essentially the feed store. You do not want inoculized wheat seed. You want feed wheat, or You can oftentimes find wheat straight from the granary, but you have to locate a granary. And you're looking for hard red winter wheat or hard white wheat. Whatever you can get it. You're going to, by the way, use a grinder on these things, a hand grinder, to grind them up to make your cornmeal, to make your flour, to make your whatever you have, okay? So with that, corn, rice, wheat, and beans. Beans oftentimes are pinto beans. And pinto beans are cool. And they're relatively cheap even right now. Which, just for a moment, we should discuss. Here's the deal. Is food expensive, air quote, right now? Historically speaking, yes it is. It is expensive. But compared to what? Remember that toilet paper analogy a moment ago? Compared to what? Right now, year over year, food is actually cheap as compared to even 100 years ago. But see, the paradigm is shifting. That will change. 6 months ago, food represented, historically speaking, the lowest percentage of per capita income in the known world, in the history of the known world. However, that is going away because resource availability is contracting, which is also why you're seeing action in areas like the Middle East, the Ukraine, traditional breadbaskets of the world that are now coming online. World superpowers want to control those breadbaskets so they can feed their people. Breadbasket because they produce, drumroll please, wheat, which you need to eat. So food right now might be expensive, but it's still far less expensive, historically speaking, over the history of mankind than it has been. Also, just since March 2020, the United States dollar has lost 10% of its purchasing power. The stock market has only risen 6.87%, which means you're down 3.1% overall with your money tied up in the markets right now. Because you gained 6.87, but you lost 10. You're down 3.13, or some such math like that. So you might as well buy physical things right now, because the ones and zeros in your bank account don't matter near as much as they used to. So the purchasing power of your dollar is diminishing while the price of things is increasing, both because of basic supply chain logistics, supply and demand, but also because of the devaluation of the dollar. So corn, rice, wheat, beans. Beans is typically pinto beans. You should have beans, but black beans, pinto beans, garbanzo beans, lima beans, butter beans, whatever floats your boat, homie. The number is 750 pounds of food per person per year. It's a lot of food. Yes, it is. When you do the math, that works out to 3,277.18 calories per person per day. The recommended number of calories for a military-age male between 16 and 35 years old to maintain body mass while engaged in strenuous activity is 3,200 calories per day. So I prep, by the way, do you have a notebook? If you don't, get a pen and a piece of paper and go back to the beginning of the video and start scribbling. Or go to the Prepper Classroom series, free here on YouTube, that playlist. You'll find all these notes up on a whiteboard. Or get the Prepper Notebook from the store at bearindependent.com. I prep for everybody as if they're a military-aged male. The reason for that is many of my people are. The other reason for that is for those that aren't and never will be. For example, my daughters never will be military-aged males. It gives me a little bit of headroom. Okay, I have a little bit of extra. If I'm preparing for them as a military-aged male, but they're in fact a teenage girl, that means I have some headroom in their caloric intake. They also, sooner or later, will be betrothed to a military-aged male. Things to think about. Okay, so 750 pounds of the 4 different grains: corn, rice, wheat, and beans. This is roughly, what, 180 pounds of each: corn, rice, wheat, and beans, which sounds like a lot. It's not. You're talking 4 50-pound sacks of rice per person per year. Per year is what we're talking about, and we'll get to why a year in a moment. 4 grains: corn, rice, wheat, beans, 750 pounds total amongst those 4 grains per person per year. A family of 4 would be 3,000 pounds, or 750 pounds of each type. Everybody tracking? Roger that. The next thing that we do is called the 7 meals plan. Okay, so you have your 4 grains good to go. They're in buckets, in Mylar bags with 2,000 cc's to 2,500 cc's of oxygen absorbers inside the sealed Mylar, inside of buckets. Okay, you get approximately 30 to 33 pounds of stuff per bucket. Okay, easy math, just figure 30 pounds per bucket. 25 buckets is your yearly allotment per person, or roughly 6 buckets of each of the 4 grains. Then move on to the 7 meals plan. What is that, Bear? What do you speak of? The 7 meals plan is, for us, the type of meals that we can open up jars and cans, dump into a pot, and heat it up. And boom, we have dinner. An example of this is spaghetti and meat sauce. Okay? Let's say you need 2 pounds of spaghetti and a jar of sauce every time you make spaghetti and meat sauce. Cool. You go to the store, and when spaghetti is on sale, instead of $1 a box, it's 50 cents a box, you buy 104 boxes of spaghetti. The reason you do that is you got it on sale, and that's all your spaghetti for the year. When sauce goes on sale, you buy 52 jars of it, and you put that together, boom, on a shelf. That's our 1 meal of our 7 meals plan, spaghetti and meat sauce. Next is, hey, simmer down, toddlers. Toddlers on a trampoline, geez. Next is chicken chili is another one. Canned chicken, chili beans, white chili seasoning, canned tomatoes, green peppers, all in cans. Open it up, dump it in a pot. Cool. Guess what that's really good over? Rice. Know what else you can make to go with it? Cornbread. You know what's nice to have with your spaghetti and meat sauce? Bread from wheat. See where we're going with this? So there's another example, white chicken chili. Chili in general, just regular chili with beans or without beans, depends on what region you're from. There's lots of, vegetable soup is a good one that's easy to make. And you augment your grains by your 7 meals plan. You get your 7 meals put up plus your grains, you're looking at a minimum of 1.5 years worth of food. Why 1.5 years? Okay? The reason for 1.5 years is that it gives you approximately 2 to 3 growing seasons to spin up your agriculture. We'll talk about agriculture here in a moment, but understand that it gives you 2 to 3 growing seasons to spin up your agriculture, because if things go bad and they go bad deep, like nothing can be bought at the store anymore, or we are in a legitimate stage of civil unrest, there's civil war everywhere, and you are on the side that for whatever reason can no longer receive material goods, the trucks aren't running, we don't like your town, whatever, you got to be able to eat. So your food storage is actually your cushion, either in between normalcy, bad stuff, and normalcy, it's the cushion that gets you through that, or normalcy, bad stuff, spinning up our own independent systems. Either or, it's the bridge that gets us from where we are to where we need to be. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So, 4 grains, 7 meals plan. We talked about all that. Buckets, we talked about that. Buckets, basic rule on buckets. 5-gallon buckets, 5-gallon Mylar sacks, 2,000 to 2,500 cc's of oxygen absorption per sack, per 5-gallon Mylar sack. Fill up the buckets, or I'm sorry, fill up the sacks. You put the sack in the bucket. I got videos on this, everybody else does too. Put the Mylar sack in the bucket. You put the grain in the sack. You zip the top of the sack closed with your iron or your hair straightener 2/3 of the way. You throw an oxygen absorber in there. You crunch up the top of the sack as much as you can. You seal it up the rest of the way. You put a lid on it. I like the lids that have rubber O-rings in the lids, okay? And then you store your buckets in ambient temperature. Buckets are not, and anything that is dry, pasta, rice, corn, wheat, beans, whatever, anything that has 0 water content, 0 moisture content, all your freeze-dried stuff, all your dried vegetables, all that stuff, seasonings, freeze-thaw doesn't matter. It does not bother it. In fact, it's good for it, because if there's any latent insect eggs in your grain, which there will be, newsflash, the flour you get from the store, the vast majority of the protein in that flour isn't from the wheat, it's from the insects that are in the wheat when they grind it. Yeah, are you grossed out now? Whatever. Such is life. Okay? The freeze-thaw doesn't bother that. It's good for it because if there's any insects or latent insect eggs in the grain, that freeze thaw kills that off. It's actually very good for it. What is not good to have an ambient temperature is anything that's constituted, meaning it has a high water content, because as it freezes and thaws, the packaging can expand and contract, and it can bulge or break. Hashtag botulism, that's bad news. And it also degrades the food over time, and nutritional content leaches out of the food. It's just bad, okay? So anything that's constituted in number 10 cans or in glass jars or in quart cans or whatever needs to stay in a temperature controlled environment inside somewhere, okay? In a basement, in a root cellar, in a wherever, cool and dark. Anything that has low moisture content is not constituted, is dried. Just keep the water out of it, keep the insects out of it, keep the rodents out of it. Put it anywhere you want, okay? And then lastly, to repeat, why do we have food storage? Because sooner or later, we may have to spin up our own agriculture. And the food storage is the cushion that allows us to get from where we are to where we need to be. And so, with that, what do? 16 minutes talking about food storage, and I was going quick. There is more in-depth coverage of this in the Prepper Classroom. I would encourage you to go there and check that out. That playlist on this channel, there is, all of this is covered in the Prepper Notebook, which you can find in the store at bearindependent.com. And I'm curious to know your questions down below. Where do I get my buckets? Uline, the letter U, Line.com. Where do I get my Mylar? Same place. Oxygen absorbers, same place. Where do I store all my food? None of your damn business, but suffice it to say that if it's constituted, it stays in a climate-controlled environment. If it's not constituted, if it's dry, it stays essentially wherever I want to put it, okay? Your garage is fine. Your crawl space is fine. Your barn is fine. A storage shed is fine. A storage unit is fine. Digging a hole in the ground, putting it in there is fine. It's wherever. It doesn't matter, okay? Just keep rodents, insects, and moisture out of it, which is why we put it in a bucket in Mylar with oxygen absorbers. Also, highly recommended for corn, you need to research what's called nixtamalization. Got a video on that in the Prepper Classroom, as well as Phase 1 Readiness has a very good video on nixtamalization, Nixtamalization, nixtamalization. And let's see, what else do we need to know? Oh, hell, that's probably enough. Thanks to the patrons for supporting us in what we do. If you want to be one, which means you're awesome, you can click the little baby bear up here in the corner. That'll take you over to Patreon. $1 or more per month gives you access to 30+ exclusive pieces of content per month. Plus, it helps support everything that we do here for free on YouTube. Bless y'all. Have a wonderful day. Shalom.